Overcast, the podcast beyond World of Warcraft.
Welcome everybody to episode 9 of the Overcast podcast, the podcast beyond World of Warcraft. Now I know you guys think that this is all about YouTubers and streamers, but nah. If you look in the description, from always we said this is about WoW community figures and their stories. And guess what? There's some big ass WoW community figures out there that are helping a lot of us playing our classes better and replying to questions we don't have the answers for.
Oh, of course.
Especially the class Discord admins and basically the spec and class gods, I would say. Who are we talking about today, Flame? What are we getting into?
Well, obviously you guys have seen the title, have seen the thumbnail, so you might have heard of him, but if you haven't heard of him, today we're talking about BANTER, the one and only guy that's... Well, I think it's maybe a little bit too much to say, but I like to put a little bit of pressure on the dude that decides how you're gonna play DK in Shadowlands and how you probably played it in the last couple of years. So welcome. BANTER from the Acarus community Discord.
BANTER, welcome.
Hey, how's it going, guys?
BANTER saw the playlist with the Mocas. He was like, oh man, you guys had Noble and Dranos. I need to follow that up. It's all good, man. It's all good because we're going to get into some juicy stuff. So, BANTER, enough talk on us. Tell us a little bit about yourself and we'll develop from that.
Yeah, hey, so I've been playing Death Knight for like 10 years, a long time now. And in my career, I'm studying game design. At the moment, I'm in my final year of uni for it. There's been a bit of a circus with that, but now I'm also teaching it while studying as well. So, yeah.
All right. And on top of that, I would like to add that Mr. BANTER here is also an admin on the Acarus, fuck.
We're gonna get it right eventually, man. It's not a problem.
Acarus, yeah.
The Acarus Discord channel, which I'm pretty sure, because we have, traditionally we had a lot of love for our DK videos, and I'm pretty sure we have a big community that is playing DK. So probably, there's... Shut up, man. You're going to be play Paladin in the Shadowlands. Don't give me that
DK is my main
shit.
ult. What are you talking about, man?
Don't give me that shit. All right. So, game design, World of Warcraft, running a Discord channel, like, a Discord channel where you get proper information on DKs. Now, what spec do you play the most, BANTER? I know the answer, but maybe there's a little bit of development going on there.
Cool. So I've been tanking pretty much all of this tier. Last tier, I ended up quitting for a bit because of some guild kind of disband and stuff like that. Before that, Unholy, and I've recently been getting very into PvP, so I've been playing a lot of Unholy there. But pretty much Unholy Frost for PvP, I prefer Unholy. I don't really touch Frost that much nowadays, though.
That's interesting. But
what is Frost?
Well, why? I mean, what's the problem with Frost DK, BANTER? Why don't you prefer it over Unholy? Is it lesser buttons to push? Is it less challenging? What is it about?
It's the havoc of Death Knight.
Anytime I go into key, I just can't be bothered to DPS nowadays because I don't trust tanks. So I just tank myself. Just stack on like 6 or 7 Twilight devs, bit of experience. Ready to go.
Sounds about right. That's how our Blood Decay deals top 3 damage in the guild.
It's amazing to see that. I think this might be the first time I've seen in WoW tanks do this amount of damage, and it's not even because of damage, just because of the corruption. Do you think we'll ever see this again? I know in Shadowlands we won't, but like in the future. How about you, BANTER? Do you foresee any future in having tanks being top 3 DPS?
Top 3, I'm not sure about that. I remember tanks used to be, especially Blood DKs and a couple other tanks, they used to be very high risk, high reward in MOP. So if they decide to push that direction again, maybe, but I don't think the balance team really likes having that discrepancy. Personally, I think that a tank should be doing about half or 60% of about a DPS.
That's
personally.
That's actually what I wanted to ask you. Since you obviously are interested in game development, you're studying it, and who knows, maybe practicing it one day. What would your ideal, let's say, tank DPS dynamic be in WoW in terms of design, like in terms of DPS output, tankiness, mitigation, utility, kind of like that?
Well, define specific dynamics. So you're talking about what each class should bring as a niche, or
well, we can definitely get into specifics. I'm more interested in like the overall role versus role type of dynamic, because right now, so see, for instance, I always was drawn to tanking because of the change in mentality. Is like, okay, what my most important thing is to mitigate as much damage as possible. Oh, and if I have time to do extra damage and increase the damage that I do, that's also great. But people seem to be focused so much on dealing extra damage that I feel like, I don't know, maybe the mitigation part is neglected a little bit too much. And it kind of, and especially with 8.3, it turns out like tanks is like, oh, you just want to deal as much amount of damage with taking as little amount. And felt like I'm optimizing damage, especially with the advent of Mythic Plus, seemed to be way more of a focus for tanks than being tanky, or at least that's how it looks like from an outside perspective.
It's a tricky question to balance, in my opinion. The issue with Blood DK specifically, and I think Prop Paladin has this to some degree, they're basically just self-sustainable. Should a tank ever really be self-sustainable without a healer? Or in some scenarios, maybe on very edge cases, and if they're using all their cooldowns perfectly. Outside of that, not really. But there's some really good arguments to be had there, such as Burnstorm versus Vamp Blood. Vamp Blood, I pretty much always take, even though pretty much everyone uses Burnstorm for Mythic Plus, or at least low keys anyway.
Like Red Thirst, or
Red Thirst. I don't know. It's just one of those talents that I just prefer because I like Vamp Blood. If I need it to
deal damage with,
get slightly more than just to get a bit more HPS. I don't know. I feel personally like, while it could be cool to be doing like 5% extra damage, being completely self-sustainable is probably more of a benefit that I prefer personally. But at the end of the day, that's not really good tank balance in the first place. So, yeah.
All right. So you mentioned that you started WoW like 10 years ago, something like that, more than 10 years ago.
Was it in Wrath, right?
In Wrath, but I'm curious, like, what's the most... I think I know the question. Okay, so we're going to exclude the answer tanking, okay? Remove tanking from any question, okay?
All right, it's over here now. Yeah.
What would be the most appealing thing about WoW for you? I mean, why PvP over PvE? Well, there must be a lot more nuance over there than just, that's why I removed
like, why not play Final Fantasy, I guess?
Yeah. Oh, man, I've looked into the PvP for Final Fantasy, but it's just not there, right? I think Final Fantasy, correct me if I'm wrong, but you basically, it's more like a battleground where you just kill each other and then you respawn. I think I think that's kind of undermining the whole point of like being an arena and trying to kill each other to the death, right? Of course, there's more like counterplay options there though, because like you drop medals, I think, and then you have to like stand on the medals to pick them up or something. And I think that has like its own nuance. But and we're going to use the word esport, right? Esport, or like a pivotal PvP mode. I think just trying to kill the other team makes it a lot more exciting to watch, in my opinion.
And this is why currently joining and playing PvP as Unholy is like the biggest appeal for you on WoW, or is it more?
well, in my opinion, DK is really, really bad.
Really? Because Unholy had a good streak.
It's terrible. It's bad, man. It's so bad. Like, it's getting to a point where Warlocks are casting Fear in half a second. Greater Pyros are coming out in like 0.75.
Yeah.
So you really only have just full-on brain-dead cleaves with like Warrior DH or DH Windwalker or something like that. From memory, I think actually the top melee right now is a couple Windwalkers. They're playing...
Oh, really?
They're playing Mage Windwalker from memory. But right now it's basically every melee is just squishy as hell. And then you have Mage Lock at the top. And that's pretty much what's defining the meta right now, in my opinion. You also got like Shadow Priest, but Shadow Priest is a bit lower than that. The issue is right now, the game just isn't built to run around this much haste. This is talking from a design point of view. The game just isn't built to run around this much haste. You have half-second Fears coming out, half-second Polys coming out. It gets to a point where you physically can't even kick it because of latency. as an Oceanic player, I definitely feel that, by the way.
Oh yeah.
With the 250 MS. Yeah, I got my glad. It wasn't easy. A lot of learning though.
Congrats.
So, yeah.
I think the problem with PvP is like at least in the last season, it's all corruptions, and I think you underlined it pretty good because the game isn't designed to have that big ass amount of haste. And basically kind of all melees are in a really tight spot, but because prior to the corruption things, I think Unholy were doing this, and some of the top comps were like Unholy DH or Unholy Mistweave, no, Unholy Windwalker prior to the corruptions. I know at least judging from the AWC and looking on the ladder, Unholy DK was pretty good. I remember being super afraid, facing an Unholy DK as a healer.
Remember the days?
Yeah, necrotics and all of that.
Was it at 8.1.5 or 8.2? I think. Whenever I'm put into the shoes of judging meta, game design, or anything, either PV or PvP, I almost by default do not take 8.3 into consideration because I think
it's such a meme
at this
patch.
point, 8.3 seems like a joke patch.
Yeah, it's the meme patch. It's the biggest meme in all of WoW patch history. It's unbelievable
If you really think about it, Unholy has pretty good arena kit, arena tools in its kit, like all the CC, the grabs, the necrotic as well.
It is.
It's getting to a point though where, in my opinion, Rogue is outshining it in basically every way. You got Cloak of Shadows, which is basically can work like a shell. You got Vanish, you got Blind, you got a Garrote stance, and then you can cheap shot off that, so you can stun 3 targets at once.
Well, from
Demon, yeah.
Oh, so sorry. From a mechanical point of view, isn't Rogue kind of outshining every melee?
I don't think so. Mechanically,
not quite.
Holy DK I feel is much more mechanically intense than Rogue, especially Assassination. Assassination is easy to play, man.
Yeah, no, but I meant you have stun, you have Mortal Strike, you have Blind, you have magical immunity, you have physical damage immunity.
As a kit. Well,
yeah, that's what mechanical. Well, okay, I said mechanically, but maybe as I meant it as a kit. Like I think Rogue kind of has everything.
It always did, though.
Yeah.
I'd say Rogue has more set up for a kill, whereas Unholy has more stops in that respect. But the whole strength of Unholy's kit at the end of the day is coming from your pet anyway, which if we look at that Dark Transformation change that was recent, I was very unhappy about that. I put up a pretty meme post, but yeah.
Yeah, when
I'm glad it got reverted.
When they baked it into Apocalypse, right?
Man,
that was kind of iffy from a PV perspective.
That tango they did with the Apocalypse changes, man. What the fuck?
It's like us in a smaller version, a funny representation of what they did with Elemental, where they took it through like 3 iterations over the course of Alpha and Beta. By the time it ended, it got back to how it is in BFA again.
Yeah,
it's the same spec as it is in BFA.
See, Ellie, I get though, because they just like tried it. They really pushed, and I was like, you know what, this just isn't working. Let's just scrap it. Unholy, it's a bit different, right? I understand exactly why they tried to do it. It was really seemingly just to clean up their opener in a raid scenario, because they had a lot of press this button, press this button, press this button, press this button, press this button. Okay, now I can do damage. Oh, my buttons are already fading because it's been 15 seconds, right? Yeah. In Mythic Plus, you had issues where, okay, well now Dark Transformation isn't going to be up for... Sorry, if you use Dark Transformation before a boss, so therefore Apocalypse, then you won't have Apocalypse for the next boss. Best example is Priestess Trash in a Tal'Dazar, right? You want to obviously have as much damage for that pack, but then you have nothing for the boss. So it didn't make sense there. In PvP, you don't always want to use Dark Transformation offensively, just like to pump a bit more damage. If you don't have a kick or a grip when you're playing against Rogue Mage, and the enemy mage is going to go for a Link Poly on your healer, you need to set up Dark Transformation, get your pet near your healer, and be ready to pet kick as soon as that blink comes out, because he's going to precast Poly. And then it just completely kills that. So in those 2 regards, and 2 of the most strongest, 2 of the core game modes, it didn't make sense. It just didn't work. So those are my arguments for changing it back. Anyway.
Well, hopefully.
bit of a high,
I feel
hard to grasp, I guess.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I feel they're definitely addressing the global blow that a lot of classes have when it comes to their startup. Obviously, it's more apparent in PV than in PvP, and whenever they make these kind of big changes, kind of affects PvP a different way. And I think the best example, because actually I feel like they nailed it with Arcane Mage, because Arcane Mage was kind of heavy on the globals as well, not as heavy as Unholy. But and I feel like that type of design and that type of mentality is what they were going with Unholy, because with the Mage, they've made, what is it, Arcane Power Proc Rune, and Touch of the Magi give you arcane charges, if I'm not mistaken right now, 3 or 4 arcane charges. So that feels like what they did with Unholy Assault, or Unholy Strike. I don't even know what their name is anymore. And I guess okay. I'm just like the old school. It's like, man, I liked Unholy Frenzy. Why did I have to take it away? But you know.
I mean, it's still the same, but like it's not the same either. No, it's pretty much just free haste.
All right, well, PvP as PvP, but you also said that you raided, and now I'm curious, what got you into raiding, first of all, and can you mention any notable achievements in your raiding career as well?
Ooh, I think I started raiding back in Warlords. I think I bought a carry off Crimson on Oceanic in Mr. Pandaria, and that's pretty much when I hit level cap for the first time.
Okay.
In what?
Pretty much, in MOP, sorry. In WAD, I started raiding for the first time, and I started heroic raiding, pretty bad at it. Eventually, when I got to about HFC, I started doing mythic raiding, and then I became a filthy patter, started trying to get all-stars ranks and stuff like that. I can't even remember what they are.
Filthy padding, I like that.
But I was so excited for Legion, and I just ended up quitting because the times that I had to study interfered with my rating, and that really sucked at the time, and I ended up quitting in Legion because of that. But I came back in BFA. One of my really good friends, Calligraphy, she told me she was coming back and she was going to start a new raid team on US. So I ended up playing on US server on 250 ping.
Nice.
And I raided Uldi and Bod as Unholy. And yeah, we weren't that good. We only got JNR, I think it was like the last week or something like that. We didn't kill Gahoon in time. But yeah, and I can't remember what tier, AP. In AP pretty much disbanded because everyone's just a bit sick and tired of WoW.
Oh, let's stop this World of Warcraft talk already, man, because I know we can talk for like 3 days nonstop about WoW, and it's pretty interesting because Banter has this view, this mindset, and of a game developer too. He sees it more analytical, more what's the goal, what's the purpose, how do you get to that. And I want to get into that a little bit, Banter. So I know you mentioned that you're in your last year of university. Did I get that right?
Yep. Final semester.
Final semester. Okay.
Yeah,
so how is that going for you? Talk a little bit about that. What you're studying, what you're doing, how was last semester, all that.
Cool. So I'm going to backtrack a bit. I actually started at a community college in Australia. We pretty much call them TAFEs.
All right.
And I did a year there. I got a certificate for and then a diploma in digital and interactive media.
Ooh, that sounds fascinating.
Which is basically just games. And that was a programming straight up course. I used that as a pathway to uni. The uni was supposed to give me a 2-year course, but when I finished my capstone, I was told I didn't have to do the other capstone, which is just for the IT department. The semester after that, so this is the beginning of this year, I'm told I only need to do one more subject. And I'm like, okay, fine, I'll do one more subject. This semester, I'm told that I do need to do the IT capstone. And I also need to do one more unit because the unit I didn't count last semester. So I'm here for another semester still. And it has to be a capstone project, but it's kind of fun. But I'm also teaching this year, which is really fun. I've learned a lot from it's Americans would probably have it like a TA or something. I'm not sure what Europeans would have, probably a TA as well. Over here, we pretty much call them tutors or demonstrators. Yeah. So I'm pretty much a tutor at my university.
So what do you teach?
So last semester I taught game design, which is a 2nd-year unit. And this semester I am just teaching introduction to video games. So last semester was all theory stuff, really fun, going over like different types of fun, how different players interact with different parts of the game, level design, all that cool stuff.
I got this one thing. So,
Sure.
Mr. Game Design, if you would have had Ian Hazekostas in front of you, right? I'm sorry, I'm going to circle back to all just a little bit because I'm really curious on this. So if you had a one-on-one with Ian Hazekostas as a Mr. Game Design, what would be like the first three things or top three recommendations you would give to make World of Warcraft better from a game design perspective? And this is going in directly into your mind for what you study, what you're teaching, and all of that.
The first one will definitely be pull the ripcord. Because covenants don't need power tied to it. You can just have them cosmetic. They would work fine. That's it.
True.
You want to have them as a half a daily quest? Fine.
True.
They don't need player power tied to it. Like, honestly, do you guys think the game would be better, or would you be looking more forward to Shadowlands if there was no stress regarding the covenant you pick? You just pick a covenant based on whatever you want. If you want to be a Night Fade DK, you can. If you want to be a Kyrian DK, you can, and you don't get punished for it. Because I feel like that's the feeling that players are feeling right now. The idea that they're getting punished for not picking the perfect one.
Oh, yeah.
What do you guys think?
Oh yeah, we were in the same spot. We talked about this in most of our videos. We 100% agreed with both sides of the argument. At the end of the day, putting super weight on the RPG factor of World of Warcraft is a little bit of a empiric thought, because how much RPG can you actually put into an MMO? It's an MMO RPG, not an RPG MMO. So elements like that can work really great in single target games, super story driven, but with an MMO where there's lots of game styles, competitive game styles, game modes, and whatever, there's really not much of an argument. I understand the RPG factor, but that should be tied strictly to the most minimal player power, like, I don't know, 2%, 1% more movement speed. Okay, that's fine, but big ass cosmetic and story impact. And the stress you're talking about is 100%. I agree.
Yeah,
I'm with it.
I actually agree, because I'm a turbo nerd, but I'm also super competitive, so I always try to optimize as much as I can. My DK is definitely gonna go Necrolords, because we are in an MMO, and I just like that feeling of belonging to the world. So obviously the heaviest DK fantasy is going Maldraxxus and going Necrolords, because that's just cool. I just feel like a DK in a DK world, and that's just how MMOs should be. I mean, just make me feel like I'm a part of the world, and everything else should be just something that I decide. But I feel like I'm definitely gonna go Necrolords, but I feel like, oh man, but I'm losing a little bit of damage by not going Night Fae if I play Frost, for instance. I don't know how it will scale for Unholy with the new changes, but I will still go Necrolords because I like it. But why do I have to have that feeling as a player? Like, yeah, but I'm kind of losing a little bit on that side. So that's just why? What's the gain of that? And after so many years of WoW, it's clear that people like to play alts, like the majority of people. So why do we have to have a 24/7 process of progressing our character that never ends, when we can just, okay, we got that, let me just play my alt now, and I can just do whatever on my alt. I don't know.
Okay. So we got the pull the ripcord. I need two more. Yeah. You have Ian Hazekostas in front of you. You have to. He comes to you and he says, "Banter, give me some advice, give me some wisdom, man. I want to make this game better." What will be the second recommendation for Ian? Yeah, it ain't easy, buddy.
Yeah. Now I'm just thinking about covenants and stuff, so it's a bit distracting. I would probably ask a bit about the anti-cheat technology. That's the stuff I'm very curious about.
Anti-cheat technology?
The third one, yeah, they have a bunch of anti-cheat technology, honestly.
Well, what's that?
So I'm pretty sure everyone here's heard of Warden, right? It's the...
Yeah, I know about it.
Yeah. So anti-cheat, so if you run Glider or something on a computer, it detects that, it flags your account, you're going to get banned eventually. Other stuff I don't know if I can say this, but oh well, here we go. So if you have any programs on a computer that run macros, so Razor Synapse or something like that, your account's flagged. And then any type of macro inputs, stuff like that.
I know about that.
Other things like disconnecting and reconnecting your computer when you enter an instance, so you can appear behind the instance portal. stuff like that. Phasing technology, how people get around that to farm mobs or are able to get in a different phase where there's more nodes. I think that was an issue in Classic, to be honest.
Yep.
Yeah, and general bot detection for Classic, that stuff's really interesting. Like there's some fly hacks in not Zul'Farrak, Zul'Garub farms or something like that. Though I've seen some videos there are really interesting. So pretty much how they're combating all that stuff, I'd really like to have a chat with Ian about that. It's super interesting.
Do you feel they're not doing a good enough job on that? On the anti-cheat thing?
I can't say for sure. The issue at the end of the day is how do you detect all that? How do you check all the false positives? So is this person really cheating? So if you have a phishing bot, for example, are they just watching Netflix on one monitor and they're just clicking every now and then on this monitor? How do they tell the difference in that? So that's what people do though. They maybe get like a druid to like do mining herbalism and they just auto run everywhere while I'm watching Netflix on a second monitor, then click every now and then. How do you tell the difference? I think those sort of things are really cool. Again, I'm a bit nerdy though because it's game design.
Oh yeah, this is super interesting, man. This is something that really would interest you. I want to talk with Ian, right?
100%. But here's the thing about game design, though. You don't really learn how to make a secure game. You just learn how to make a game fun, pretty much.
True.
Learning how to make a secure game, which Blizzard ended up learning because of the whole deal with Glider. That's some interesting stuff that I haven't heard before. So
maybe one day we'll get Ian up in here and have a chat about anti-cheat as well. I'm pretty sure he knows a little bit. Would you, as a game designer, would you have anything to say about classes? I don't know, maybe getting back to adding talent rows or talent points or anything like that. Do you think they had a good decision on switching from the classic put points in different trees and moving into the Excel spreadsheet? What would you do on that regard, or what would you say?
It's interesting that you mentioned that because I was actually thinking about that yesterday. I remember that. Oh wait, we have a level squish. Why aren't they putting in talent points back? Like, why can't we just have the talent row back? Because you think that if they're doing a level squish, then it will be the perfect time, right? Because every level that you're going up, you get something new.
We speculated on this too.
That's a third question. What are you going to change to make people feel like they're getting something new each level? That will be my third thing. I know they brought that up before.
Yeah. Well, it's. I know one of the arguments was that even if they would do this at a level squish, eventually they'll have to scrap it again because it will get too messy. Well, do you think they will have any solutions for that? Like, make a talent system that feels more rewarding, as you put it, like being able to progress to it from patch to patch, but from expansion to expansion, but not over bloated in 3 expansions for now. Is there any solution to that in your view, apart from this Excel spreadsheet and player borrowed power?
Their solution on it from a game design point of view seems to be just keep it simple. So keep it simple, stupid, as I'm pretty sure is the acronym. So KISS.
That's
the acronym.
That's what it's.
But on the other hand, you have like PoE, right? Or if you want to pick another RPG, Final Fantasy VII's Crystarium, right? Not the Crystarium, that's 13, but Final Fantasy VII's weapon leveling system. It's basically, why not just have it so every level you get X amount of points, and then after, say, 1,000 skill points, you can buy a talent. But I'm pretty sure that's pretty much what they ended up having with this. But then you have the other example, which is PoE, which is double downing on complexity. And I don't know if you guys have seen the PoE maps, but they're giant.
Oh yeah.
With like a couple hundred different leveling nodes.
I'm scared of that. I'm too scared to go into that.
That's actually the most appealing thing about PoE for me, because I'm all
exactly.
Ooh, like giving me options and making it seem like the world is my oyster. That always appealed to me in an RPG, and I don't know. I don't see why. I guess it would be a paint balance in an MMO. I mean, but it's 2020. Like, are we gonna keep the same system for, I don't know, 5 more years? What's gonna happen?
Well, here's the thing. You just highlighted the fact that it's an MMO, right? And the whole argument is coming down to Blizzard wants to bring back the fact that it's an RPG. The reason why everyone, in my opinion, is feeling bad about this is because it's an MMO RPG, right? If you are only inconveniencing yourself by picking a covenant, i.e. it's just an RPG, then who cares, right?
True.
The fact that you're inconveniencing your arena partners, the people you pug with, the people you push keys with, your entire raid team, the fact that you're inconveniencing all of them when you pick a covenant is something I don't quite think Blizzard has fully factored in, or is something that they factored in and they're happy to accept that. Those are the only two options I really see. It's quite interesting.
This is like one of the best arguments I've heard so far in regards to the fact that this is an MMO. Yeah, I never seen it like this, but it's actually true. You are inconveniencing like the people you play with. Basically, it's not just you. So I haven't seen anybody talk about this like publicly. At least when it comes to the arguments and counter arguments for covenants. Flynn, do you have anything to
No, I do. I've been sitting on this question for a little while, and I'm not sure if you can answer. And if you can answer, that's fine. But I always was drawn to the psychological aspect of game design, because there's a psychological element to providing players with first entertainment, like work towards a reward, especially when it comes to an MMO where the goal is to socialize and create a sort of a co-op vibe between you and a couple of people, because the goal that you need to reach is unreachable solo. There was always this fantasy. I remember when we were playing, like, I think vanilla, then I don't know, TBC, and I always felt like, man, I wish I could just solo this thing on my own and feel so amazing, because this is not made to be solo. This is made to be played with like 5 other people. Whenever I played Hunter, which for me was the only class that I could just solo elites with, I was like, oh my god, this is so cool. And that kind of moment seems to be lost, because it feels like the game keeps going into more of a, you don't need people. But then again, isn't the aspect of socializing and getting help from everybody kind of what builds an MMO? And I feel like, I don't know, we lost that. So do you learn about any of these, like the psychological aspects of designing games at university, or do you have your own thoughts or ideas about this?
I have a lot to say.
Oh, good.
A lot of the psychological stuff isn't really taught nowadays, but it's definitely studied by people who work in the industry. The best example, which I had to bring up, but it is true, is definitely gacha mechanics and gambling, loot boxes, all that type of stuff.
Yeah.
The idea of trying to make as much money as you can from the smallest things is definitely a psychological impact that people are really trying to study, because it looks at profit margins and stuff like that. But on the idea of that MMO experience, I mentioned the types of fun before, right? This idea of working together on co-op and stuff like that is pretty much the idea of fellowship. And at the end of the day, that whole idea of fellowship encompasses working together as a team or exploring something together as a team, stuff like that, and having that experience with your friends. In my opinion, the best parts of WoW, or at least the most fun parts of WoW, is not the actual gameplay that the designers put in the game themselves. It's the stories that come out of all the random things they have in the game, right? So the idea of, we killed a raid boss the other day, was pretty fun, versus me and my 10 buddies, we got really drunk. It was a Friday night. We decided to do this new raid that we've never done before. So we walked in the dungeon, we wiped 5 times on the trash, and Lincoln or whatever ended up falling asleep at his keyboard, passed out drunk, but we kept on going without him with one less healer. No, but like, you guys are already getting on the like this whole idea of
that, because that sounds
story. Yeah, the idea of like a co-op story sounds so much more fun. Yeah, it
feels like we've missed that over the years, like the story, because whenever we think fondly of WoW, we have those nostalgic moments, like, oh, remember this one time I did that stuff with those people, and that was really cool. And I feel like I don't know if this is true or not, but maybe that was one of the biggest drive into creating WoW as the game monster that it became eventually, as the biggest thing, because it had a lot of personality, and that personality was built by the people as well. So just making those stories like, dude, I was a Tauren at my first character, and I was doing shit in Mulgore, killing Quillboars and stuff, and then I saw an orc, then I was like, wait a minute, you're the first orc I seen. I was like, is that a player? And I still remember this today, it was like 15 years ago. And I wrote to him, like, are you a real player? That was such a new moment, and those kind of memories, like, man, you cannot get those in any other game right now. I mean, it's so hard to recreate these.
The stories.
There's a couple reasons why, though, at the end of the day, right? It's how do you design those situations? You can't really design them. It seems the trend of the industry is going towards... I've called it or coined it the co-op carousel or the co-op theme park, where basically every time you roll into the game, you're just on a roller coaster that the designers put you on, and you're on rails, but you can't really move. But it's just, ooh, excitement, and in WoW's case, it'll be, ooh, epic loot, and they're just throwing this from like random bosses, but the loot's terrible or whatever, right? But the fact that it's so meticulously designed kind of takes away the fun of being able to explore things or being able to muck around and make mistakes on your own. But you see that in other games as well, right? It's like Destiny is definitely designed around those experiences as well, like showering people with loot, small teams of co-op stuff, that type of thing. And then having like a hub where you hang out. It's quite different to how things were designed back 15 years ago. But at the same time, 15 years ago, we weren't able to research how to do maximum DPS, right? If you wanted to figure that thing out, you would have to like put together your own spreadsheet. But that spreadsheet was never shared. Nowadays, we have access to that information. But then the argument is it actually impossible to have that experience or not? Hard question.
I mean, times change. The game cannot be the same as it was 15 years ago. We can only hope it keeps getting better. And we did talk a lot about game design, and we'll talk about this all day. But I'm also interested personally in the Acuris Discord channel because I think, correct me if I'm wrong, guys, but didn't Discord really start to pop as soon as Legion came out, or just before of that?
I feel the same way, yeah.
Because I remember back then, before Legion came out, I was like playing with my mates, and I think we were just using Skype. And then one of my dudes said, oh, dude, we should really try Discord. I was like, I'm not trying Discord. Dude, it's a really cool app, but no, I don't want that. Shit's new. It's full of bugs, whatever. And then we went into it. It was pretty cool. And then all of the community started to pop up. And I was like, oh my God, this is pretty cool. And of course, Blizzard tried to recreate it, I guess, with whatever in-game chat voice systems and connection to Twitter or whatever.
Communities.
Yeah. So what I'm interested in, how did the Acuris Discord start? What's the story of it, and how did you become an admin, or who started all? Because I think it came in Legion because all of them have like the class or the hall names, Acuris, Skyhold, stuff like that.
Yeah.
So, story time. Acuris was not originally Discord. It was originally an IRC channel, which for all the boomers out there might know what I'm talking about. It's literally just text. You think about like the old terminals and stuff, where you started typing and then you got chat back. That was pretty much IRC. I'm pretty sure it actually predates stuff like MSN Messenger.
Really?
Yeah. The IRC is ancient, and that's what we used. We also had the website Son of a Lich, which was a forum, and we had like a couple of guides posted there. At the time, I was a new member. I came sometime around HFC, and I just started annoying people. IRC was only 50 members big then. When Legion came out, it was about 100 people in at a time, so concurrent users. And yeah, I was made a mod sometime between the end of WoD to Legion, mainly because I was making like some guides and stuff, because Skullflower who was in charge of all that stuff, or who made all that stuff at the time, ended up getting a job at Blizzard. Congrats to him.
Ooh, nice.
Yeah. Shout out. And yeah, so I took over like all the trinket spreadsheets and stuff at the time, which was pretty much the only resource that we were really using. And yeah, so I was like pinning them and stuff. So I got made a mod from there. I was a mod during Legion, still a mod, and about, I want to say 3 months ago, I just got made admin. So the other mods and the admins. So Magdalena and Zuvius wanted me to be promoted to admin, so here I am. It doesn't feel any different though. I still feel just like a mod, but yeah, it's nice to have an orange name, I guess.
I was curious now. How does that thing work? Like, what do you have to do? Like, what are the situations you encounter within a big ass Discord such as Accurus? Because I'm pretty sure a lot of people come there with maybe bad info, or people try to, I don't know, maybe self promote or something like that. Do you ever handle stuff like that?
Definitely, we have. Okay, I'll just start with the easy stuff. So we have things like guides, the how-to channels. One thing that I focused on a lot, which is pretty much because my game design background, is the new user experience. So when I joined the channel for the first time, what am I looking at? How do I get into the position, talk to other people and stuff like that? And I think we were the first ones to adopt the idea of you put a command into a specific channel and then you get given a talking role. I think we were one of the first Discords to do that.
Ooh.
Outside of that, it's no promotion. We have all our Twitch streamers apply through a spreadsheet, which I've been lazy on. Yeah, and they apply and we vet them. We watch their streams and stuff. We have to like make sure they say no naughty language and stuff like that. And then they get advertised through our bot when they go live in a specific channel. Outside of that, there's no advertisement, so you can't advertise your stream. Excuse me. If you're looking for arena partners or if you're recruiting as a guild, can't do that in Accurus. I'm sorry.
Rules are rules.
Every now, yeah, rules are rules pretty much. Even I'm not allowed to advertise either. So all the mods follow the rules. We've had a couple of incidents recently with like crypto scammers and stuff like that. Though mass banning those is a team effort, and pretty much all of the class Discords are coming together and like compiling a list of all the bots that need to be banned, and we're just mass banning them from our servers. So that's like another thing, just like mass bans. How do you deal with that influx? The other thing that we came up with is, again, so you have to get talking permissions. So how do we deal with people who are just coming in and spamming crap? We pretty much have a roadblock where they had to like type in a bot command to get talking permissions. And then eventually Discord came out with other ways around that. So you have to be in the server for 10 minutes. You have to hook up your phone, which I'm not a fan of that one. That's a bit...
I just got this popped into my head, just really quick.
Sure.
Again, I don't know why I keep circling back to all, but it's something we don't have to go too much, and I don't know if you can talk about this, but I'm gonna ask: was there ever an instance where Blizzard staff approached you guys on feedback for, you know, classes and stuff like that for upcoming expansions or anything? Because I know from other Discords this happened. Cannot say.
No, not that I can't say. That's never happened. I can't reveal anything else of that either. I'm very sorry.
Looking at the unholy changes, then it's not very surprising.
No, I'm not talking specifically about Shadowlands, because another class Discords, I know for a fact somebody who was in charge of a specific class. Well, I don't know if they still have people in charge of specific class. I'm pretty sure they still do. But I know somebody came into that Discord and asked for feedback prior to any announcement and anything like that. It was super. It was before Legion.
Okay. In that case, I'll say this. There was a time where a specific developer asked several classes for some feedback, and they shared with us some insider knowledge. But there were incidents that happened, and as a result, that's not really something that happens anymore,
Right,
unfortunately.
Yeah, I know about that.
At the end of the day, it's up to the developer to decide if they do or do not want to reach out, I should say.
It's okay.
That being said, on that, nowadays, roles have kind of flipped a bit. Content creators have much better access and reliable access to developers than class Discord owners do and theory crafters do. So that's something interesting.
That's
I don't know if it's the healthiest thing to be fair, but it's interesting you mentioned that, because I know kind of the same story. So something went out and they stopped doing that basically. It was very NDI, obviously, and some. Okay, well, it's interesting.
Sounds like an off-air kind of chat.
Yeah. Well, I just wanted to touch on this because I knew about this other Discord situation when it happened, and I was curious if it happened with Oculus too at some point. I believe that was a healthy way of getting classes right, and I don't know what you guys think, but I feel that Legion had a pretty decent, what when compared to BFA at least, they had a pretty decent revamp on most of the classes, and I felt that in Legion most of the classes could do decent, not all of them could do high-end maybe, but decent competitive gameplay all around, as opposed to BFA. So I think.
Well, I have my own theories on Legion design. If you want to hear them, actually.
Of course,
go for it.
In my opinion, pretty much people have touched on this. I can't remember the word off the top of my head though, which is really annoying. The whole idea of Legion design, modulate. Okay, the whole idea was you have about 70-80% of a class, and the rest of the stuff is all modulated design, right?
Yeah.
So the idea of modulated design is that you're able to slap on parts that make it a whole that it wasn't before. So you have the artifact system, you have Azurite armor, you have essences, stuff like that. It's all modulated design, right?
Yeah.
And it's something they don't really want to give up on.
Stubbornness.
And it's hard to see if it's... You always had modulated design in the idea of tier sets for each tier. But at that point, you had a whole class, and then you added like a little raspberry or a little sprinkle on top, right?
Yeah.
Now it's like you've made half a class, and that half class is made up for through modulated design. But as we've seen with Azurite armor, if the modulated design part is dog shit, then the class doesn't work. Right?
Yeah,
I think we've seen that.
Yeah.
It's like Windwalker, maybe Havoc Demon Hunter to some extent. Hard to say. Sub Rogue.
Oh yeah. Well,
I remember it's all rogues.
That's the thing. It's basically I know that this philosophy started pretty much in Legion. This is why the whole revamp went into to all of the classes. I think the difference between the modular design in Legion and maybe BFA, hopefully not Shadowlands, we're pretty sure not Shadowlands, is that in Legion you started off with that modular design, you got access to it, and you felt that improvement pretty quickly, as opposed to BFA, where you ding the 120 and you got one trait unlocked, and that was probably shit anyways, and you felt super shallow, right? That was the main difference, but railing off of this thing.
I don't think either of us are fans of
no, we're
player
not.
power.
We're not. As much as we love the entirety of the Legion expansion, it was the kickstart of this whole borrowed power modular design Banter was talking about, and they're stubborn. Ian is stubborn about this. It's probably it's what their philosophy that's rooting back to the talent thing. That's what they want to have with the game moving forward. It's his baby.
I might be able to provide a bit of insight on that, to be honest. The idea behind why, if I was a developer, I'd be pretty stubborn on this, even though my personal take is I wouldn't. It's easier to make 20% of a spec every expansion than to make an entire new spec. The mistakes they made are coming from the idea that they've made 36 classes, not 3 specs for 12 classes or 11 classes. It's literally 36 classes because each spec is its own identity. They're kind of identifying that already, and they're trying to get away from that, but it's still not quite there. They're still following that methodology or that design structure because, again, covenants. You have a spell for each class. That's still modular design.
Yeah.
They really want to stick to it because it costs too much design time to make new classes. And we're seeing issues with that. We've seen issues with that for the last 3 expansions, right? Yeah. Legion, you had pretty much... Okay, here's a tidbit. And you guys can actually cross-reference this. You guys at home can actually cross-reference this. Specs only got roughly 2-3 weeks of design time and then they were just left. Legion, some classes had maybe less, maybe more, and they got touched a bit later. And then you have issues with, I'm not going to answer this, but is the Azerite armor team talking with the class design team? So you have those questions come up as well.
Ooh.
And that's where all of this mess comes from. I'm not going to answer that question, but if you guys want to figure out why that stuff happens, or does this team talk to this team, have a look at Zool in Aldi. That's all I'm going to say on that.
I think I have a faint idea of what you're talking about.
The perspective of a game developer, which I totally respect, and it's nice you put it that way because it does make sense. Designing 20% of a spec or class is much easier, right? Or balancing it at least than the whole kit. I agree with that. How did it work up until 6 expansions with the old system, right? And it's so much of a fuck up with this new approach, right? And again, respecting the developer position on this, having to work around 20% of a class when compared to 80% or 100%. How did they manage to do it for 6 expansions? And now it looks like this approach kind of doesn't work, or it has more negatives than positives. Why is that? That's what I don't get.
All right. I'm going to answer your question with a question.
All right.
What sounds more attractive to you as a consumer? I'm pretty sure when I say consumer, you already have an idea where this is going. Brand new abilities based on the covenant you pick wisely, or class updates?
For me, it's always going to be class updates, man. Always.
Exactly. But what looks better on a poster or something like that is, hey, the idea of something flashy, something new, right?
Shit, yeah.
Instead of we've updated the class, it is more fun to play now. It's harder to advertise the idea of like this class plays better now. On top of that, is the class being completely revamped? Does it need to have like the insides of it ripped out and then completely redesigned? Or can you get it to a point where there's a solid foundation and then every time you're building upon it, what that comes back to is cost. Is it cheaper to do that? Does it cost less design time? Do people really care about if the class they have is more fun or not, or do they care about the content?
Oh yeah, I guess from a marketing perspective, that's kind of the thing. From a marketing perspective, it always makes sense to have new flashy things. And I felt like what Marcin was saying up until now, the new flashy things were either a big poster villain or a new class, right? We had Demon Hunters in Legion, we had Monks in Mob, we had DKs, and I think those were like that, oh my god, this is the new shit in the expansion, let's do that. Or Deathwing destroyed all of the world, the whole world is different, that is the new stuff. And I feel like by adding Covenant abilities and new stuff like that, they're either saving themselves the need to create a new class, because it always felt like, oh, Shadowlands is going to bring a new class, right? Every 2 expansions, we kind of got used to that. We're going to get a new class. Why not get the Necromancer? People were like, we had this in our community as well. A lot. And because we don't have anything like that. And I mean, sure, we like or we don't like Sylvanas and we want to see what happens to her as a villain or as a raid boss or as an NPC. There's no really a big poster for Shadowlands. What? Who's Sire Denathrius? Who's the Arbiter? Nobody acknowledges those as they did Arthas, Illidan, the Burning Legion even, right? Or Illidan the second time around. So I felt like they didn't have that hook with Shadowlands. Obviously, they don't really have that hook with BFA either, because judging from the trailer, it was like Horde versus Alliance, but it wasn't really Horde versus Alliance. If they put N'Zoth on the cover, because Marcin had this thought, it's like, where's the big villain on the cover? If they put N'Zoth from the cover because it's clear that was their end game, maybe it would have been a totally different reaction to the expansion.
I made a mock-up of that, of the package, the cardboard box with N'Zoth. It looks so good. I think I'm gonna put it in the edit for people to see. I think I used it in an on cooldown episode at some point. I still have it.
Oh, I remember the one.
It would have looked amazing.
Oh my god, yeah, that looks so good. Like we're not trying to like
we're not tooting here,
that
but
looked pretty good.
Oh no, is it just like a picture of Nazoth in the middle of the cover with like the?
It was like a WoW box with
it looks so good, all
it.
purpley and shit. It was exquisite.
That does sound pretty cool.
We'll put it in the final edit for people to see. I think that would be good. But hey, okay, I need to stop talking about WoW, man. God damn it, man. We have to make a promise. Like, no more WoW, okay? Because there's so much little time left. And I really want to get a little bit, I mean, both of us want to get a little bit behind what's happening with BANTER, all right? So we know that he studies he teaches and studies game design. He runs the Acarus Discord channel. Well, part of the people who run the Acarus Discord channel. Pretty good figure. And also, I don't know if we mentioned this, he's one of the folks that helped us tremendously with our DK guides.
Oh yeah.
And what a lad. It's humbling, man, because approaching people with vast experience and vast knowledge, and especially more analytical folks that can actually give some proper number insight into a class and have that put on, that information be, put on into a video, even if it's, beginners type stuff, it's really cool. And the DK folks, I gotta say this. So the DK folks from the Hackers Discord were like super down all the time, super into it, with feedbacks and stuff. Everybody was chipping in. It was such a beautiful thing. I mean, I just want to put out my appreciation there. I know Flame had to do all the research, but I know dudes are 100.
I was very pleasantly surprised, and I'm always happy to go into our DK chat because I'm obviously a DK fanboy, to say the least. So that kind of vibe was always really cool.
Real quick on that, I don't think I did that much overall. I would like to give a shout out to Dagrain, Night Rage, or Taze, and of course Mr. Biceps Pump, who pretty much did more work than I did on that. So I do appreciate it. I do appreciate the kind words. But yeah, shout out to the helpers on the Discord. I really appreciate them.
It's the track record, because I know that there was always a lot of people when we did all of the DK guides. Frost, Unholy Blood, especially. There was always a bunch of people chipping in all the time. So kudos to that. I think it's worthwhile, especially when people are looking for, getting into the proper play style of the Death Knight. But BANTER, do you have a dream job? I know you study game design, but do you actually want to do this for a living? And if so, what game would you like to work on, or do you have your own ideas?
Well, here's the funny story about me getting into game design. I originally got into it because I thought, well, I could do a much better job of balancing this game than Blizzard.
No way.
I'm gonna get a designer. I'm gonna get a job as a designer. So get qualified, and I'm just gonna walk in their office and say, "Give me a job. I'll do a better job."
I'm here. Take me.
Everything's gonna be all right now.
That was my initial thought. Over time, it's kind of I've gone a bit more realistic with all that stuff. Would I work at Blizzard right now? If they weren't in America, maybe. Because they're in America right now, probably definitely not.
And in a pretty expensive area of America, too.
Oh, yeah, like South California. I think it's...
Yeah, it's...
South California.
Yeah, Irvine.
Not a cheap place. Yeah, Irvine, that's it. Regarding what I would like to do, there's a couple places near where I live. So you got Wargaming Sydney. They're pretty much the big guys in Sydney. All of the real cool small indie studios are in Melbourne, though. And because I'm around the Sydney area, it's not quite something I can really do right now. What I would like to do is probably start my own business and then make a game from there.
That's my boy.
That's kind of the answer that we like to hear, because obviously we were kind of doing our own thing, and especially I myself, I'm a big supporter of like, hey man, find the thing that you like and make it happen, do your own thing. So obviously we as gamers, and I know that again, I'm speaking a little bit for myself. I don't want to speak for Marcelian too much on this, but I always had my own fantasy of the games that I would like to make, and obviously I'm not a programmer because I studied a little bit in high school, but I never really enjoyed coding too much. I'm kind
Visual
of
C++ for dummies. Here you go.
Not easy.
It's not about being easy or hard. I never thought it was hard. I just thought it was a lot. It was very tedious and very meticulous.
Yeah.
And I was more of like, oh, I want to create the story. I want to create the gameplay. I want to create the characters. That was the creative part of it was like, oh, I kind of want to do that. So that's why we asked, like, what if you probably have your own game thoughts, like what would your dream game be? Would you like to create an MMO, an RPG, or roguelike, or shooter, or strategy? That's kind of where the question was going. Not sure if you already established those or if you're still, looking.
The answer changes every week. You can definitely tell this stuff, but in creative fields and like craftsmanship based fields, everyone's always influenced by one another. That's why you get weird things like Overwatch and that other party based or whatever it's called shooter coming out at the same time. It was like Battleborn or something like that.
Oh,
You get like two games that come out which are extremely similar at the exact same time for no apparent reason because they all have the same like inspirations, I guess.
Yeah.
So yeah, it changes every week. Probably a roguelike, I think. I'm a big fan of Metroid. I have a backlog of roguelike games that I haven't played, which I want to get around to eventually, but I'm too busy playing WoW.
Cursed WoW.
Probably a roguelike. Yeah. Too much arena.
You spoke about inspiration, and this is something that we really like to ask people about. Because, going through your daily life, and especially if you have a goal that you want to achieve, or at least a path that you want to walk on, you're eventually going to get inspired, or at least sometimes look for inspiration, knowledge, wisdom, or whatever, from books, videos, tutorials, talk shows, stuff like that. Or maybe you've met somebody in real life that was really inspiring, really cool. Do you have something like that, something that you could talk about?
Man, I have several role models. I have several people I look up to. It's a tough question. Look, I'm a big fan of a couple people from Blizzard specifically. So even though I personally think he absolutely dislikes me, Celestalon, I'm a big fan of his whole like design practices and stuff like that.
Celestalon.
Skullflowers.
Right.
Oh yeah, that's the name you haven't heard for a while.
Yeah, I haven't heard about him for a while. Yeah.
Yeah. Ghostcrawler as well.
Oh, Ghostcrawler, man, that's my babe. I loved Ghostcrawler, man. I loved him. Did that.
This is really embarrassing because I think his work is great, but I can't remember his name. One of the old designers, I can't remember. It says like an X or something like that. Zernax? Yeah, Zernax.
Zonax.
Yeah,
Oh,
Zernax.
Jesus, man, I haven't heard about these people in a long while.
And of course, Skullflowers. You know, you're my homie. So I'm big. From the Acros Discord, definitely Magdalena. I see as a bit of a role model. He's taught me a lot of things over the years, so I really respect that. Outside of that, and within the industry, a lot of the big three writers that obviously I can't remember when I need to remember them. But he's working, it's David something. He used to work at BioWare. He used to work on Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic. The Old Republic. He worked on the Dragon Age. David Guida. Big fan of his writing.
David Guida, yeah, yeah.
David Guida.
Cool.
A couple other people. The guy who wrote Half-Life, big fan of his stuff. Obviously Half-Life. I was looking up a story for a plot breakdown of Half-Life and Portal 2 last night. It was really cool. So I'm a big fan of like how you bring in like storytelling into like first person stuff and how you like interweave cosmic horror stuff, which is pretty much Half-Life in a nutshell. Big fan of that stuff.
Yeah, Mark Lado is the guy.
Yeah.
Mark Lado. Laidlaw.
Yep. One that is unorthodox. You probably won't even watch this, but she knows who she is. Michelle Flam. She used to work on Elder Scrolls. She's been a good friend. She's taught me a lot. And my current boss, Dr. Mitchell McEwen.
Oh, there you go, man.
Oh, it's good. It's good to be inspired and influenced by actually the person that's teaching you, and you're working really close to. That can be really
100%.
productive.
Yeah. Nah, I got a lot of respect for him. He's told me some interesting things. Yeah.
Beautiful. Is there like any, I don't know, do you listen to podcasts or, I don't know, have read any books or watched any movies that maybe inspired you? Any inspiration from, you know, more traditional methods of gathering information, inspirational books, I don't know, something like that? Or there's none of that?
See, there's definitely always that because I'm always getting inspired. I love art. So I'm always getting like theme and like aesthetic ideas from like looking at different arts on Twitter or like different paintings on Google or whatever. But my memory is so bad that I can't remember this stuff. Like, it's just a whole like mess of ideas at the end of the day. So I can't really recall any of that. Podcast or anything? Not really. To be honest, not quite.
Well, you can listen to Mocast, man. It's pretty interesting discussions in our podcast. Yeah,
Mocast has some interesting people there.
Really. Do you guys have a link for that or anything? Or?
It's everywhere.
Well, we can hit you up. We can hit you up. If there's like one thing you would recommend our listeners or anything to do to, you know, better themselves, or something that can inspire them to, you know, follow their dreams or do what they want or what they like, what would one thing be that you would recommend people do that you would think was a good thing?
Dun, dun, dun.
On the spot. Spotlight. Let's go.
Okay, I kind of want to say two things here because they
go
kind
for
of
it.
contradict each other. Don't be afraid of failing and fail faster.
Oh, that's
Probably
cool.
the two things.
Oh, the
Yeah.
fail fast
So
chef.
the
I've never
idea-
heard that before.
So the idea of fail faster is stop trying to figure out if it's the right thing or not. Do it and then assess and then iterate on what you've done. The idea of don't be afraid to fail is obviously try something. If it doesn't work, oh well. But when I say that, it's the idea of taking a calculated risk. Always, before jumping in the deep end, maybe you should check how deep it is first. Stuff like that.
Deep. Beautiful.
That was very
I see Flame being touched already. Look at him.
Dude, I'm still thinking about it. What are you talking about? I need to write this shit down.
It was beautiful. Okay, guys. So just in case, if there's any like DK players out there, or maybe even game developers out there, or striving game developers, and you want to hit up Mr. Banter, you can see somewhere over there. You can see his Twitter. He said that he's not that active over there, but you know, you can. I think you can hook him up over there, and also you can always go to the Discord for Accurus. All DK related best and most proper and solid information on DKs. You can find them there. And there's also Mr. Banter. You can see him there, you know, talking sometimes. Approach him. He's a pretty approachable guy. So I hope this got through.
Especially at 4 a.m. in the morning.
I'm gonna go bed. Yeah, especially 4 a.m. in the morning.
Watch out for the time zone. But Banter,
100%.
this was a blast. Thank you so much for joining and being open.
fun.
Yeah, man, it's interesting stuff. We didn't really get into stuff like this, especially the game design part of things, and you know, more analytical stuff on WoW and classes. It's pretty interesting. I hope the people at home listening to Spotify or watching on YouTube, hope they found this. You let us know in the comments.
Oh, we know we have at least one or two future game designers aspirants. They're in the community that are listening and watching this. And hey, guys, you know, we're all gamers in the end, and some of us might want to make some games.
Some of us might take the next step. Beautiful thing. If you want to add anything, Flame or Banter, now is the time, because we have surpassed our slot here.
Sure, Banter, if you have any shout outs you want to give or anything to say.
Yeah, 100% shout out to all the moderators in the Discord. There's several, I'm not going to name them all. And of course, shout out to the minions in the Discord. You guys know who you are. You guys are great. You've been a big help to building Acris up from the ISC it was to the 50 concurrent users or whatever to 60,000, 70,000 plus, whatever it is at now. You guys are a great help at keeping everyone informed, making sure that everything's correct. You guys are great help. Big shout out to my guild right now, Lucky Shot on Frostmon. We're going to do great next here.
Hell yeah.
If it's okay, I would like to leave the aspiring game designers out there with a question though. Because this is something I wanted to touch upon, but we didn't quite get there. So in BFA, I think Blizzard themselves were able to figure out the answer for this question. But is the device or the interface which a person plays the game, is it more important, or is it just as or less important than the actual content of the game itself? Or is it a case where the game can only be as fun as the interfaces for the player? So in WoW's case, it will probably be the class. Can the game be more fun based on the content, or is it bottlenecked because if the class isn't fun? That is a question I'd like to leave the viewers with.
That would be a good question to answer in the comments. I'm really curious. I know I have my answer.
There you go.
Can we talk about this? It's a great fucking question.
Thanks, man.
That's really good. Maybe we can definitely use some of that in the thumbnail, but don't spoil it. Don't spoil it.
Can we allow also non-game developers to answer this? Because I'm pretty sure. All right, so that's the question, guys. I hope you, if you didn't hear it, just rewind a little bit and listen again,
or just watch from the beginning. That's
always
cool too.
Always
but thank you very much, BANTER, for joining us today. It was a real pleasure, and it was so interesting to talk about different kinds of aspects of course, WoW, and hearing a game developer's perspective or an aspiring game developer's perspective. And I really wish you the best of luck in games, and I'm waiting for that roguelike to play eventually. So just hit me up once you have a beta for it.
Make sure there's some sort of a DK class over there, man. And a paladin one too, if it's not too much trouble.
Well, you have to have paladins like the
don't know about that.
All right, boys and girls. So this is pretty much it for episode 9. Check us out next Monday for episode 10 with a brand new guest. Once again, the podcast is all about the WoW community members, YouTubers, streamers, Discord channel guys, maybe MVP from the forums, who knows, maybe some game devs from Blizzard. It's all about that.
This?
Yeah, you better watch this, especially this episode. Thank you guys for watching and tuning in.
Thank you, everybody. And, see you in the next episode.
Bye-bye.
Still I play WoW. Still I play WoW.